Welcome, everybody, to the Rewind Sports 60. I am your host, Lauren Cox, and we are live at the WCPT studios, 8:20 a.m. on a beautiful evening in Chicago. It's about 90 degrees. It's a beautiful evening, and sports are back in full effect, and so we're going to get right to it. And we also want you guys to join us. Give us a call. Join in on the fastest hour in sports and give us your take on all the things that are going on this week in sports. Our number is 773-763-9278, and we're also streaming live on Facebook at the Rewind Sports 60. So let's get right into it, guys. I'm going to start with the marvelous one, Dan Marver. Dan, the Cubs are doing great.
Oh, yeah.
Hawks are in the playoffs. I know this was a good week for you.
It was a really good week. Now of course, don't forget the WNBA, the Sky, are in first place.
See? Absolutely. Yes.
And honestly, I've watched the hockey, the basketball, and the baseball with the men. Now, bear in mind, the Cardinals have played 5 games.
Okay.
There's 47 days left until September 27th, which is the last day of the season, which means they have 55 games left to play. So this is getting a little out of control. If there's any more illness, I don't see how they can do this unless they do it by percentages. And I've loved the hockey, of course. I'm a big Blackhawk fan, so therefore I've enjoyed the fact that they advanced into the playoffs. Absolutely. And I think it was a much better setup to have a play, immediately start the playoffs, because the NBA right now, the 8 teams in the East are set, and essentially the 8 teams in the West are set, and they still have another week of these goofy games.
Exactly.
And then they start the playoffs in the 17th. So I'm a little disappointed in that, and I understand all the messages the players have on their backs, but I think it's a little too much in your face personally, but I understand why they're doing it.
All right, well, we definitely want to get to that. We want to dive into that a little more, but we've got to bring in the main man, my partner in crime, the amazing Jerry Riles. Jerry, what do you have to say about that? The messages are a little too much.
Yeah.
I can't see them enough.
And the crowd was stunned. The crowd was stunned. Hey, it's a little bit in my face. I can't take it too much.
I understand it, though.
It's a little bit too much in my face. I mean, Black Lives Matter, equality, we want justice. It's just too much in my face. I can't take it. Enough is enough. The marvelous one has spoken, ladies and gentlemen. Lauren, how are you? Good to see you. Let me tell you something before we get into this fastest hour in sports conversation. Lauren Cox, I'm over here, in the studio, and we're streaming live on Facebook Live. Let me tell you something. I glanced over to the monitor, and our great producer, Devin Tingle, has done an outstanding job getting us all set up here. But I look over to my left at the monitor, and I see your beautiful smile.
Thank
you. Look back. You're very photogenic. You know that?
Thank you so much, Jerry. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I'm just telling you what I see here.
Hey.
How about her parents?
Well, yeah, thank you,
my mama. Yeah.
Yeah. You look fantastic on and let me tell you guys, girls, people out there, if you don't believe me, you got your smartphone. Where's my smartphone? You got your smartphone, all right? You're on your monitor, whatever the case may be. We're streaming live on Facebook. Take a look. Lauren Cox looks fantastic. Unbelievable. And of course, the marvelous one, you look marvelous as usual as well.
How can you tell?
I'm just sick.
I look better this way than I did with the mask off.
I'm just sick and tired of looking at all this Black Lives Matter and hands up and equal justice for all and enough is enough. I'm just sick of it.
Now, don't misquote me. I said I understand it before I said that.
Oh, okay. So I didn't misquote you.
Okay, right.
Yeah, you understand. I certainly get it. Before we move on, we got a great show, Lauren, and marvelous one. I got to tell you, Lauren.
Yes.
I'm always thinking of you. Always thinking of you. Who needs to go to work to hustle for another dollar? Sorry.
Yes.
I'm always thinking about you. Marvelous, I'm thinking of you as well.
I know what you're going to say.
Sympathies.
You don't know what I'm going to say.
Yes. Are you going to talk about the mask that you never got for us?
Well, I got you a t-shirt. I got you a t-shirt. I'm going to get you a mask. Look, you see, let me tell you something. You want the t-shirt? I got the girl a t-shirt. She's like, I don't want the t-shirt. I want a mask.
It won't fit me. I need XXL.
Hey, Lauren, you don't want the t-shirt? I'll give it to Devin. Devin, you want the t-shirt, man?
I will cherish this t-shirt for the rest of my life. Are you kidding me?
Listen, Marvelous, I set up, and all you guys and girls out there listening, I said, I got something for you. Here's a t-shirt. I don't want the t-shirt. I want a damn mask. Here you go. Hey. Add it to your collection.
Yes,
We'll get you a mask. We'll get you. Well, I'm always thinking of you.
I appreciate that.
All right. Jeez. I don't even get it, man. Try to be a nice guy, and
We appreciate you, Jerry.
it's just like
We just want a mask. We want to know where our mask.
It's just like being at home. That's all.
Yeah.
And speaking of masks, I got to before we get into the fastest hour in sports conversation, I got to say thank you to the Knights of Columbus out in Wheeling, St. Joseph the worker, Dave Vogel. They gave me a new mask. I got a mask on. If you can see, it's the Knights of Columbus. So I have to say thank you to those guys for looking out and getting the job done. And also I have to say thanks to Van Nguyen, again, over at St. Joseph the Worker in Wheeling. I brought in a bunch of donuts.
We don't eat donuts.
What do you mean?
We don't eat donuts.
Devin, you eat donuts, don't you? Yeah, he's tempted to get one now. Mm-hmm. Paul Chavari, he eats donuts. I know Nick eats donuts. Marvelous, you eat donuts?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm the only one.
I had about 3 of them. That's not good for me.
Wow.
Because Lauren,
you ate my donuts.
Yeah.
You ate the ones for me.
I ate
Right.
Marvelous.
I didn't touch them all. We're okay.
And that's why I had to. I only touched the ones that I put in my mouth. Marvelous. I only touched the ones I put in my mouth.
I know.
But the reason, I had to bring them in because I'm telling you, I would have been snacking. And you guys probably know me by now. I don't do a lot of working out. And when I
no working out.
see,
Yeah.
see.
I've been riding a bike for the
Lauren,
first-
wait a minute. Yeah, I do some working out.
Okay.
I get up from the couch and walk into the kitchen and go to the refrigerator.
Yep. There it is.
Yeah, I get a workout in.
Yeah.
But I have been golfing too, and it's interesting. I went golfing, and my buddy and I, Rod Black golf course over there on the north side, Rogers Park. But we went golfing and we were paired up because it was so busy. Twosome, myself and Greg, and another couple, Chris and Stacy. Stacy's from Texas. But we were, to put together as a foursome. Here's where my mind is. I asked the attendant and everything. I said, hey man, don't have to wear this mask while I'm out on the course. He's like, no, you're good. And I'm like, okay, I'm cool.
Outside.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, but some people still. My buddy has sarcoidosis, so he wears the mask.
Oh, yeah. If you have some health issues.
So anyway, I'm like, we're on probably the 5th hole or the 6th hole, and Stacy and Chris, we get to know him and everything. So I'm trying to be nice and a good guy or whatever. I had my hand sanitizer. But I had the Arnold Palmer
lemonade and tea.
Mm-hmm. And was something in it?
In
or
a can?
just...
No. It's And
y'all wasn't having no fun then, but go ahead.
No, I don't drink. I don't subscribe to that.
You don't drink?
I don't drink.
I thought maybe you'd Arnold Palmer clubs.
Yeah. I had the Arnold Palmer, right? The drink, and I offered them a can, and I was handing it to them, and they're like, no, that's okay. And I was like, ding, the light bulb came on. I was like, damn it, I'm so sorry. I'm not that kind of guy. I do respect you. And I said, Corona. I said, forgive me. But that tells you and shows you where we are today.
Yeah.
It tells you and shows you where we are today. That even on the golf course, you can't extend a generous offer. Marvelous. It kind of bothered me.
Can't share any food or drink. Yeah.
Can't hug your loved ones.
No. Maybe you can hug them facing the same direction. I don't know.
Well, somebody asked for a COVID hug, and they actually gave a complete hug.
Okay.
I thought that was kind of cool.
And then you can do the fist bumps with your elbows, which is just
yeah.
kind of
How about
corny.
we do with gloves, a fist bump? I don't know.
You can do like they do in the WNBA, and you can do the chest bump.
And in New Zealand, they said that it's 100 days without any new reported cases or transmission of the coronavirus. So everybody on Twitter went crazy and said, see, this is ridiculous. What's going on in America?
How many people live in New Zealand?
I know. It's the population of Illinois, pretty much.
Marvelous. I mean, to the credit and looking on the positive end, you got to start somewhere, right? And how many bikers went to that rally? Was it You heard about the rally that all these bikers went to?
And they started fighting or something?
No,
this was another one.
Was it 25,000 or 250,000 or something like that?
Where?
I don't. Devin, can you look up that information when you get an opportunity?
I'm surprised. They actually almost have 5 million people in New Zealand. That's more than I thought.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean.
The best thing to do is
other countries around the world are controlling it a lot better than the United States. That's
and I don't want to get into all of this, but it's based on the leadership or lack thereof in this country. That at the end of the day, that's all it is. That it's just lack of leadership. And you know what? I heard the show before us. They talked about us. Well, they didn't talk about us, but they talked about the United States and people who are still supporting what's going on in this country regarding coronavirus and COVID-19. And they said, hey man, after 6 months, if you still don't get it, I have no help. I can't help you out.
Yeah.
It's 6 months.
It's people standing firm on it too.
Yeah.
Come on now. This is ridiculous now.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's not ridiculous now.
Anybody want a drink?
There it is. Simple measures: social distancing, wearing your mask, and washing your hands.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It really is. And after 6 months, if you still can't get it and don't understand, and you think that it's a joke, the smart thing to do is just to stay away from those individuals because that's why I mean, come on now. This, first of all, and I'm not trying to get into politics or any of that stuff, because by this time, I mean, it's August 9th, and if you still support this guy and believe what he, stands for, there's nothing that I can say or whatever. But my point being is that he forewarned you, even before the elections, of what type of individual that he is, what his mentality is, what his viewpoints are as far as just his moral standards.
What did Maya Angelou say? When someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Exactly.
He showed it.
So he showed it, and people still accepted him and embraced him. Okay, so now he gets into the White House, and then he starts his antics as far as the different things that he's doing, whether it's insulting, other candidates, where it's insulting, people who have passed away, whatever the case may be. But when you get to the point where this guy is telling you to drink disinfected, and he tells you to drink disinfected, he tells you that this is just a hoax put up by the Democrats, he tells you that before Easter that this virus is going to be gone, it's like a miracle, all of these shenanigans, and then his administration tell you, oh, it's just a joke. Oh, he's just joking about that. Let me tell you something. August 9th, I swear to you, I don't pay attention, I don't watch, I don't listen. Because if you don't know that this guy is full of crap,
and now he's trying to screw the postal system, this is just outrageous.
If you believe this guy and you support this guy after everything that's happened in this country and what's going on in this world, there's nothing that I can do for you. There's nothing that I can say to you. And it's just disappointing. And I don't mean to get on my soapbox, but that's what happened.
Hey, Jerry. Of course, I'd rather stick to sports, but it's 86 days on election day, and the people will decide. So that's if we
have an election, Marvelous.
Yeah, you'll have an election.
I don't know about that, because this guy in office.
No question in my mind.
Well, we may not have it when we normally have it. When is it? The first Tuesday in November?
November 3rd, 86 days from today.
Yeah. If we have an election then, I'll eat your hat.
Okay, I'll bring my hat. Because
I don't put anything past this guy.
Yeah.
I don't put anything past this guy.
You'll have an election, but you may not have the results. I'll give you that.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, when he gets kicked out, he said he ain't leaving. So, hey, we got more drama to come.
Well, that's what I'm telling you.
Never heard that.
I'm telling you. Uh-oh. Marvin's went, uh-oh.
You said you never heard that?
He said he's not leaving. He himself said
Wait a minute. Now, are you surprised? Is this something outrageous that he wouldn't say? Come on, please.
He could have said it, but I didn't hear it.
Well, let's just say for sure.
Let me tell you something. I don't put anything past the guy. He ain't going down without a fight. Right, exactly. I don't put anything past this dude. I don't see him just saying, okay,
86 days.
I don't put anything past this dude. And I tell you, there's one dude on our line who is phenomenal. He's outstanding, does a fantastic fantastic job covering your Chicago Cubs. And he's on our TRS60 hotline, and he's definitely a friend of the program. He's none other than Gordon Wittenmyer of NBC Sports Chicago, joining us to talk some Cub baseball, Major League Baseball. Gordon, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
You know what? I'm doing okay. Thank you so very much for asking. I was having a fantastic day. I was enjoying a fantastic Sunday. I wish you were here because I brought donuts in for everyone. But we get it. Yeah, I brought the donuts in, man, and I wish you were here to share some of that because I can't eat it all because I don't work out, and I'm gonna expand if I. Yeah, I can't do it.
I can't tell you how much I wish I was there.
Well, hopefully we get through this, man, we can definitely have you in studio, and I'll bring all the donuts and coffee and anything else you want, man. But we certainly appreciate you taking some time out on this Sunday and joining us to talk some baseball. And we thought it was going to be Sunday night baseball between the Chicago Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals down in St. Louis. But there's a flip-flop, and ESPN is starting to recognize the boys on the south side. That, of course, the Chicago White Sox, who will be playing Sunday night baseball. So at least Chicago will get a dose of one of their teams. But as far as the Cubs are concerned, man, first of all, kudos to Theo Epstein, Jed Hoyer, and the entire team over there, from the front office down to the trainer, down to the guy sweeping up everything and disinfecting everything, because the Cubs are pretty much the best team in baseball, probably the best team in sports, because they have zero positive testing regarding, as far as results, the COVID and Corona, and they're in first place pretty much in the National League Central Division. So it seems like they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing on the field and off the field, man. But they get penalized because they can't play. Go ahead.
I'm glad you put it the way you did, because best team in baseball, maybe best team in sports, at the most important thing of all in sports this year, containing the coronavirus, avoiding it. It's look, every team in every sport that's trying to play is walking through a minefield when it comes to the health risk, and the Cubs have done a pretty good job of sniffing this stuff out and kind of putting protocols together that far exceeded anything the league put together. And then even more impressive, and this is by far the most impressive thing to me, they got buy-in all the way through the clubhouse. Young guys, older guys from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, who maybe brought in different attitudes about this virus, and yet they've got a singular attitude within that clubhouse. And you don't have to go any farther than what happened last night in Chicago to know just how easy it is for this stuff to come apart because of one guy. We just found out news today that Zach Plesac of the Cleveland Indians was out last night with friends, and the club sent him home to Cleveland because he broke the rules, violated the protocols, and it'll be interesting to see if MLB does anything about that, because supposedly there was a stricter sort of ethos involved in this last week. Supposedly more punishment was at stake with some of these protocols starting this past week. So it'll be interesting to see if Zach Plesac gets punished by the league for that. But he's been sent home and isolated from the rest of his team. One guy, one night after pitching, a 25-year-old kid hanging out with friends. It's something as simple as that can start an outbreak in your whole team. I mean, just ask the Cardinals.
Hey, Gord, what do you think? I saw an article somebody wrote, this is Dan, about there being a penalty for teams that get the COVID and forfeiting games even. Do you advocate that?
Well, it depends. That's so hard to really... I mean, how good are your investigators, right? How good's your evidence? Are you really going to prove that... the Marlins admitted it, that they maybe broke some protocols and regretted it. The Cardinals didn't. All the evidence suggests that the Cardinals got this from one guy who was known outside the team, a trusted guy, but outside the testing policies, who showed no symptoms, a trainer, nutritionist type of a guy, who was around a couple of the players and later tested positive, and it was... So this is what their contact tracing showed. And all those rumors about casinos and going out turned out to be just that, rumors. As it was reported out and fully vetted, those reports turned out to be wrong. So they did everything right and still wound up with this. And yet there were still reports out there that were suggesting they did things wrong. So I don't know how you as a league effectively punish a whole team, especially when the team attempts to do everything right. The bigger question I have is, if you've got this widespread enough with a team and they're going to lose enough games, I mean, we're looking at 2 weeks between games for the Cardinals. I mean, you get to a point where their season starts to lose a chance of becoming viable compared to the rest of the teams. Can you drop a team from the league just because they can't get all their games in, or do you somehow put them, hold them to a different standard when it comes to the number of games they can play? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to any of this stuff is. And what happens if a third team has an outbreak that keeps them sidelined for a week or more and affects the teams on their schedule in turn? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to this stuff. It's coming home to roost, though.
Well, I said earlier, the Cardinals have played 5 games, and they have 47 days. They'll have to play the remaining 55 now.
Exactly. And the next 2 days, the next 3 days are wiped off the schedule now, too.
Oh, okay.
Because of the Pirates series coming up. So it's something like 44
days for 58, 55.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, how do you do that? And I mean, the easy answer is you play these 7-inning doubleheaders, but how much higher risk is that? When you're exposing yourself that much time at the ballpark, and how much injury risk are you putting the team at when you're going to try to schedule that many doubleheaders at really an unprecedented rate?
Yeah,
I don't know what the answer is.
You know what? I think there's only one answer. We're on with Gordon Wittenmyer of the NBC Sports Chicago Cub Insider, joining us on the Rewind Sports 60 on our TRS60 hotline. Honestly, there's only one answer, and that answer is just shut it down and stop it. That's the answer. And I understand once you get started and on paper you map everything out and you lay everything out and say, okay, if everyone follows protocol and do what they're expected to do and do what they should do, we should be able to play 60 games in 66 days and get to the playoffs and the World Series. But unfortunately, we live in a world and we live in a society that's divided. There are some people that are following protocol and believe and say, hey, I got to do everything in my power to make sure I abide by it. And then as you talked about with Police Act, say, hey, you know what? I'm a young 25-year-old some kid. I'm throwing lights out. The guy's pitching his brains out. He's unbelievable. And he's like, hey, I'm on cloud 9. I'm living the dream. And so he feels he can go out and hang out with his buddies. And that's the unfortunate situation, because as we see with the Marlins and we see with the St. Louis Cardinals, people aren't all in the same. They're not all in this together, Gordon. And now we see the problem that we're seeing, and we hear the commissioner last week say and we knew it was just a bunch of, mumbo jumbo, but he said, hey, we're going to shut this thing down if you guys don't get it right. And they still haven't gotten it right, and they're still trying to trudge through. But in my opinion, at the end of the day, you got to shut it all down if you want people to stay healthy, because there's a bigger issue down the road, in my opinion, if you continue to try to see if you can get through this thing.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I can't sit here and say, well, you're just flat wrong, because there's been an ethical question to this from the beginning. We know that the reason that they're playing, it's because it's a $10 billion industry, and they're trying to recoup as much of their losses as they can. And we know that $1 billion is at stake if they can get to the postseason and get that finished. So we know that's why they're playing.
Right.
And if we didn't know that back when they started talking about restarting, we learned it real quick when they were negotiating with the players' union over how much they were going to pay them. So we know that's why. And is there a compromise in there? Because the other side of it is a lot of these players truly do want to play. I mean, they're getting a fraction. So some of the guys that have plenty of money already, they still want to play. Mm-hmm. So, and they're adult professionals that are making their own level of informed decisions. So they have that right to, unlike say a college athlete, to opt in or out, with sort of full authority. But maybe there's a compromise. Maybe the compromise is you shut it down for a week or two while you get this stuff straightened out, and then you finish up and and play maybe a 40-game season. I don't know what it is.
No, it's just my opinion again, and I think you just have to completely shut it down because, even before the pandemic, we know there's a flu season, right? And that's usually around, September, October. My neighbor told me to get a flu shot in September. Why? Because it's going to hit. Yeah. So now when you couple that with the pandemic, I just really, and, Buster Olney of ESPN, his words continue to echo in my mind that we're not going to get through this season, and that's one of the main reasons. You got the COVID and you got the flu, and you put it together, and it's not a good formula for success, in my opinion, man. It's just not.
Yeah, and they said this from the start. One of the reasons why when the players said, "Well, just do the postseason into November," and the owner said, "No, we can't do that," and their thinking was, we won't get that far because of the second wave. Everybody's waiting for this second wave in the next flu season, where a second wave of COVID.
Right.
And hell, we've had a second wave within the first wave. So there's no way you're going to escape that, right?
Yeah.
So, I hear everything you're saying, and again, I can't say you're wrong. When I look at Eduardo Rodriguez from the Red Sox, who he's shut down now indefinitely. He wants to pitch. But he got diagnosed with, myocarditis? Mm-hmm. It's an arrhythmia of the heart, and it's a result of the case of COVID that he had. So this is one of the lingering effects he's dealing with, and he anticipates and they hope that this is something that can be treated and that he'll be fine long term. But these are things we don't know. These are the things about this virus that we just don't know. Here's a guy, a healthy, fit, professional athlete who got it, did not get it as severely as some people do, apparently,
right,
and yet still has this very lingering, serious issue. And this is his heart, for God's sake. And they've made the right choice to shut him down indefinitely because of it while they get him healthy. But how many more of these are out there? How many more of these are waiting to happen? Yeah. And God forbid worse. So that's always been in the background of this, and it's tough to think in those terms, but it's always there.
Hey, Gordon, Lauren Cox here. So I wanted to ask. I know they asked David Ross, Cubs manager, what he was going to do this weekend since the series was postponed, and he said he'd be watching baseball with his pup. But wanted to get some insight from you about his leadership. I mean, with the adversity that, of course, is this season and the world now, and him being a new manager, take us in the locker room. How has this leadership been throughout this amazing season, to say the least?
Yeah, that's a great question because going into this whole thing before they restarted, I was thinking, Joe Madden has this unique way of working and dealing with people, and especially for a guy of his generation of sort of transcending generations. Like he does a good job of communicating with young people, and I thought, well, he's going to be really good at handling this. And we still didn't know what kind of manager David Ross was going to be, much less under circumstances like this. But it turns out he is a really good fit for this. His personality, which we already knew. We already knew he had a relationship with these guys. 9 of those guys in that clubhouse were on the team with him when he was a player, winning that championship in 2016. So there were built-in relationships already, and he had maintained a connection to the team since then through the front office, and so he would be at spring training, and he's maintained those relationships along the way. So that helped. And he's got a catcher who was always a clubhouse leader. So he dealt with every pitcher on his staff. He dealt with different personalities and trying to get them through games, almost as a second manager on the field. And then being the clubhouse leader just across the board. Anyway, all these skills have come in to play in this really unique time, sort of as a really, I guess you could call it a happy accident, just because of the moment we're in. Mm-hmm. But this is also part of the intent of why they hired him, is because he had that skill set. But it's really putting him in a good place to deal with this, and for the players to kind of all buy in. They've got a leader who, is one of them. I mean, he he rallies them, and it's a natural thing.
Yeah, it is, and I echo exactly what you said. It's a great opportunity. It's an unfortunate situation that we're in, and that as a society and a world. But I really look at this season, Gordon, as being training wheels for Rossi on the north side, and for the entire team on the south side. When you talk about the White Sox, I mean, what a golden opportunity. Even if we don't get through, the completion of the season, it's a great opportunity for these young kids on the south side to get out there and play Major League Baseball. And we've just seen a glimpse of what the future looks like regarding the White Sox. And so this season, in my opinion, is training wheels, because they're getting an opportunity to get out there and get a taste of it. Once we get back to normalcy, if we ever get there, and they can play 162 regular game season, that team on the south side, oh my goodness, holy Moses!
Well, yeah, I'm with you. I just keep thinking it doesn't matter if the training wheels hold up the bike if there's a truck coming down the road.
You got that right. You get that right.
I keep thinking of this virus.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to, I'm the guy that looks at the glass half full, and I'm trying to be optimistic. But, our motto here at the Rewind Sports 60, Gordon, is real sports, real talk, just plain real. And the reality of it is we're in this thing for a long, long time. And, sports or no sports, man, we got to take care of each other. We appreciate you taking some time out to join us on the fastest hour in sports conversation. It is the Rewind Sports 60. Gordon Wittenmyer, thank you, brother. Stay safe, and we'll certainly be talking with you moving down the road, okay?
Thanks, Gordon.
Hey, thanks.
You too. Be well.
Yeah.
You too. Thank you so very much. He's the best in the business, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
I had a thought, though. I was talking about, we go through the flu and the coronavirus and everything.
Yeah.
And then we get to Halloween or early November, and you have the Minnesota Twins and the Colorado Rockies in the World Series.
Oh, jeez.
Denver versus Minnesota outside. That would be the topper to the whole thing.
He is the marvelous one, Dan Marver. She's the lovely, talented, outstanding Lauren Cox. I'm Jerry Riles, and we come back, ladies and gentlemen. We go to the bubble. We go down to Orlando, or we talk about the NBA as far as what's happening. We're getting ready for the playoffs. It's the Rewind Sports 60. Gabe Silgado, TRS60 scoreboard update coming up before we're out of here. Keep it locked in. It's WCPT, 820 AM, the Rewind Sports 60.
You're watching the Rewind Sports 60. Go Bucks! Woo!
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout. So don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in.
Rewind Sports 60.
TheRewindSports60.com. Relax. Reset. Rejuvenate. Go to a link right now to restart your life. TheRewindSports60.com. What are you waiting for? Hope to see you soon. The Rewind Sports 60. TheRewindSports60.com.
Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago.
Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60 live with the best sports panel in Chicago. Lock it in.
Welcome, everybody, to the Rewind Sports 60. I am your host, Lauren Cox, here with the fastest hour in sports talk. And we have on our TRS60 line, Sam Smith, Bulls.com columnist. How are you, Sam, this wonderful Sunday evening?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
So we want to get right into it. Everything with the bubble and the NBA, everything is just all up in the air now in terms of with COVID-19 and the Bulls. But I wanted to ask, because I heard reports that they were possibly still talking about keeping Boylan as the coach. What have you heard in terms of the coaching situation with the Bulls? And I was a little surprised when I heard that rumor. So we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the Bulls coaching change?
Well, I don't know that it's a story because the coach has 2 years left, and nobody has suggested they were thinking about making a change. So that's, it's sort of like media and fan-driven. But,
Right.
They hired a new executive, and he just said he's analyzing the staff. So he never broached the notion of making a staff change. And in fact, it seems to me he already indicated he's not, because he made a couple of major moves when he came. And usually when you come in, you do what you're going to do, and then you sort of move forward with what you got there. And, the general manager was released, Gar Forman, and the head trainer, Jeff Tanaka. So those are two substantial figures. So I don't really think there was really anything going on. And Arturis indicated, and that's where I think people are missing the point, especially Bulls fans on this. It's really the NBA has done the team a tremendous disservice. And if there was going to be any significant changes, it would have been if they had an opportunity, in which they should have, to be in Orlando to finish the season, or at least play 8 games, and then new management would have had an opportunity to judge players, judge staff, interaction, teaching, everything they do, and now they haven't. So I really think once the Bulls were eliminated from going to Orlando, I think the NBA did Bulls fans and the organization a tremendous disservice and set them back potentially years because of this. Then I think the new management's hands were tied. I don't think they were in position to really do anything based on what. I mean, you watch more Bulls games than they did, most likely, and so I don't think they had any idea what's going on with the team.
Well, wait a minute, Sam. We're on with the great Sam Smith, Bulls.com, a longtime columnist, covering the Chicago Bulls in the greatest city in the world, Chicago. You're saying that you believe the NBA did the Chicago Bulls a disservice by not inviting them down to be a part of this close of the season, the restart, and the play into the playoffs, and you say that because of what again? Because maybe I missed it. You're saying the NBA did the Bulls a disservice by not inviting them down to the bubble in Orlando.
Absolutely. No, it's a disaster for the organization. Well, just look at what's going on. In February, would you have considered the possibility of, say, trading T.J. Warren for Zach LaVine or Lauri Markkanen? No. But now T.J. Warren's averaging 38 points.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, well, he's a potential all-star and all this. There's no opportunity. And now, at the very least, if you're looking at it, selfishly, you say, well, he's much more valuable as a trade possibility now. The guy's averaging 38 points and, great scorer, this and that. So, nobody with the Bulls have had this opportunity to do this. I know, your fans are down on the Bulls. Oh, it was a disappointing season. Want to move on. But you're missing the point that, it's like saying, in March, if you can't make the playoffs, they don't send you home. on several levels, like I say, doesn't give Arturis and Eversley an opportunity to judge the players or the staff. That's one thing. Doesn't give the players an opportunity to do something at a time when others are.
Right.
And also, if you look at just the teams that are not going to make the playoffs, like, say, Phoenix, what a great opportunity. All these players together, developing teamwork, bonding, all these things we talk about that are so valuable, these supposed intangibles, the Bulls don't get to share in. Several other teams too. What's the upside to this? What's the positive?
So here's the deal, and the reason we're in this situation, Sam, and I love you and I respect your work and everything you've done recently, and of course over your illustrious career. But here's part of the problem. First of all, we're going through this pandemic that none of us has ever gone through, and for the Brain Trust and Adam Silver and his team have done a fabulous job of putting this hub together down in Orlando. So it's partly to reduce the risk of players getting this virus and spreading it. So that's one reason.
No.
You're wrong. No, Sam.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong scientifically, because there's no evidence anywhere that having 80 players versus, say, whatever the number you wanted to. The point was that was going to work from the beginning. There was whatever the criticisms were, it was going to work because they're protected and they're safer than you are. There's no way you're in a position where you have less chance of getting an illness than they do. They're tested constantly. They're monitored constantly. They're people who interact with them are monitored. Mm-hmm. They're in a closed environment.
No, I get that.
They can't go outside. So it was for sure going to work. And if you wanted to do the league, if they wanted to do what this is, it's pretty apparent what they did, which was, which not quite criminal, but certainly unfair. This is basically all about trying to get Zion Williamson into the playoffs.
And they were eliminated today.
Well, your plan didn't work, Sam.
No, Sam.
Wait.
It's so transparent, the stunt the league pulled, that there was no reason to bring 6 teams. They manufactured this notion of, if you're within 6 games of the playoffs, you can make the playoffs.
No, Sam.
Sam. It's obvious what they did.
Sam, you got the wrong player. You got the wrong plan. It's not Zion. It's LeBron James. They want LeBron James and the Lakers.
That was a shoo-in
to win the championship. That's what that's all about. Zion, he's the heir apparent, but they want LeBron and the Lakers in there.
No, they were already in the playoffs.
But they want them to win.
They had the option of starting the playoffs, doing a camp and whatever, and have 16 teams, because there was a big gap between all the 8s and 9s. So you could have just started the playoffs, and it being an aberrational season, you could have done anything. So, but they added 6 teams for no reason. Well, one reason, to give Zion a chance to be on TV, get some ratings. And once you were going to do that, then you had to include everybody else and give everybody else a chance. I'm telling you, you like to criticize the Bulls, but what the league has done, the league has put basically classified like a secondary status. How could you not see that?
Well, one reason
22 teams you
Sam,
can play, but you 8 can't.
Sam, one reason we can't see it is the fact that the Bulls were terrible. They were terrible, and they did not earn the right to go down to the bubble. They didn't earn the right because they were so bad.
No. I understand they didn't earn the right to be in the playoffs. But neither did Phoenix, neither did Washington, neither did New Orleans, any of those teams. They didn't. They inserted 6 teams with an agenda to put one guy into the playoffs. They're not going to get it because, of all things, his own team stopped playing him.
Right.
Half the time.
He played. The guy goes home. He plays 15 minutes. He scores 13 points when he comes back. Unbelievable.
But the other part of it is you talk all the time about and the point is look. The Bulls and a number of other teams were in a routine that I'm sure you had lobbied for over the last years. Let's lose games so we could get. I've heard this tanking thing, which I was opposed to.
No, I'm not a tanking guy.
Well, a lot of people were, obviously. And I'm sure on your show people will call in and say, better to lose games, let's have a big... So they did. They did that. They lost games. But that's part of the routine historically in sports, that, if you can't, win, or if you're not in that position... Something, and people are always trying to figure out ways around it.
Yeah.
Well, but that's part of the way things operate. So they were on the downside now for a short time.
Wait,
or whatever.
But Sam.
And so they that's a routine to getting back to competitiveness. You don't penalize somebody for doing something according to the way historically things have run. But I'm telling you, by the fact they're not down there. That's going to be a negative, and you're talking about changing coaches, changing players, whatever. How is the new management supposed to make a judgment on that?
Hey Sam, this is Dan here. Here's a thought for you. You know how the NHL handled the startup, right? Well, I don't agree with the 8 games where they're playing random teams and it's nonsense. If they'd done what the NHL did, guess what? The Bulls were in 11th place. The Blackhawks were in 12th, and they won a round. They should have had the top 4 like the NHL, and then you would have had your wish, because the Bulls were 11th, and they would have had a play.
They should have put all 30 teams in.
Well,
I mean, what was the big deal? Really. And obviously, after the fact, you could make the case because nobody got sick, but you could have guessed that going in, as much protection they were going to get. And there's no scientific evidence anywhere that if you have 80 fewer people in some sort of a big, situation, that you're going to be safer. There's nothing. There's not true. There's no way you can prove that.
Well, it's all in numbers, and we all know. You can manipulate numbers any way you look at it, because the more people you have.
So based on your logic, why not just have LeBron and?
Well, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They want LeBron to win. They want him to win.
Safer, right? Would it be safer? You just put the Lakers and the Bucks in the finals and be done with it.
There you go. Anyway. Hey, Sam Smith, we're on with the great Sam Smith, Bulls.com, covering your Chicago Bulls. Here's the deal. Back to the question that Lauren asked. Jim Boylan, you talk about tanking. It seemed like he had a memo in his locker, in his office, that every night he went out prior to this pandemic, he was trying to find a way for this team to lose. And it got to the point that the fans, they had the lowest attendance in the United Center's history. I think they averaged between 9,000 and 11,000 fans at one particular time, which was the lowest that the Bulls fans had ever seen in decades. And you had players, and we know Zach LaVine and his relationship with Jim Boylan didn't have the respect to want to play for this guy. We understand that the players had a time clock put in the locker room where they have to punch in and out. What is this, a hard hat, lunch pail carrying, blue collar job that these guys got to punch a clock to go to work? That's ridiculous. So when you talk about...
Well, it would be ridiculous because it wasn't true.
Well, I don't know, because I've been in the locker room and I've been there with it. I didn't see the clock. I was looking around myself, but there's been speculation that there's a time clock somewhere in there.
I know what you're talking about. It was a symbolic gesture. It was kind of childish. He put, and it was, you could make justification in the Advocate Center. He put a time clock as a symbolic statement to, like, we're going to be hard hats. The old Chicago thing. Bring your hard hat, blue collar, which is nonsense, of course. But what
is wrong with this guy?
That's all it was. Nobody was punching a clock to go to work.
Here's the thing. I think people, need to be and when you bring in a new front office, I love John Paxson, but it was time for him to move on. Gar Forman just didn't get the job done. When you clean house,
they changed that. So they changed that.
Sam,
you were asking for that, right?
Sam,
so they did that.
Everybody's asking for a new coach. That's what everybody's asking for, and no one understands why this guy has not been. And I'm not for anybody losing a job or anything like that, but it happens to the best of us, Sam, believe it or not. It's time for him to move on. And if you showed that the fan base that you're moving in a new direction, in a positive direction, the coach, who was the fixture, the face of this disaster, he's got to be the first one to go. And for him to be the last one still hanging on, and there's speculation that he's going to continue to move on, it ruffles the feathers of a lot of, and you talk about Chicago fans and the blue-collar working attitude, there are a lot of fans out there that, like, they're throwing their hands up and go, what the hell is going on? We don't want this guy, and we know the players don't want him, so that's the confusing message that the organization is sending, that we're going to stick with business as usual, and that means losing, and it doesn't seem to send a positive message.
Well, you need to address that to the new executives. They're the ones who, the community, and you, I'm sure, you say you've been lobbying for, to change management.
Well, I'm not lobbying. I'm not lobbying.
Gar Forman is out. John Paxson is just in an advisory role and not involved. And there's 4 new executives there, and they have, I think he's got a 5-year contract from what I understand. So, I'm pretty sure he can do what he wants. It's not like they're going to fire him. And so, it's, the other part is, they haven't started the season yet. Now, as I pointed out, they're not allowed to play, and they're not going to, but there's a possibility that next season doesn't start until next spring.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's plenty of time to do stuff. I'm not saying they are or they're not. I don't know. But we don't know. None of us have heard from, they did a brief teleconference months ago, but none of us have heard from any of these guys. I haven't spoken to them. I don't know them, haven't met them, because of the separation and everything with the. So, and like I said, I go back to the same thing. If you were lobbying for this, you more than anybody should have been lobbying for the Bulls to be there, because if what you suggest is the case, that the coaches can't do this and the players are in revolt and all, that would have shown up if the Bulls played. Now, how does he know? Is he know based on listening to you? I mean,
I hope not. I hope not. Hey, Sam, I hope he's not basing it on what I see. I hope he's not doing it.
That's why I say on so many levels, this really hurt the organization, because these guys, when you know that I've been around a long time, I have. One thing I know about organizations is they know their organization. We know the Bulls better than he does. He's going to learn the Bulls. But all season long, Karnisovas, I'm not even sure how to pronounce his name, watched the Nuggets. That's all he watched. And Eversley watched the Sixers. And the other guy, JJ, I'm not sure his name, watched the Pelicans. That's because that's what they had to know. We're watching the Bulls. We know more about them. They needed to see this, and Orlando would have been the ideal situation, and they didn't get the opportunity. So, like I said, I think it's a real setback, and I think the fans are missing. You guys are missing the point on this. How much this is really setting them back in the ability to, to make changes.
Well, I hope you're right, Sam. It's the fastest hour in sports. Thank you so very much for taking time on this Sunday. Keep up the great work, and we'll certainly hopefully talk with you down the road when we get to the playoffs and the championship, if this pandemic allows us. Sam,
that might be a number of years.
You're right. Hey, Sam.
On this conversation,
we got to go. Thank you so much, very much. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Sam.
Take care. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation. Lauren Cox, outstanding, marvelous. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Devin Tingle, you're the best in the business.